guys. Alleen, we do miss the chat room, guys, so we're gonna start that up. So 1 minute for you guys, we're almost there. Oh, and a week has the chat room. Okay, that's cool. You can also already hear me. You can see our model, so we're almost ready for a new episode of Digital Classroom. So hang on with me, guys. We're making sure that everything from our side is working, so I don't have to stop. And it seems to be working all fine. Okay, and Anouk is doing the chat room today. So you guys, if you have any questions, you can ask Anouk. So let's start with our bumper, and after that we'll start a new episode of Digital Classroom, guys. So we're looking forward to it. And we're live in our studio in Emmeloord. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof, and you don't see me in the screen yet because I still have to look for one of the cameras. Hello Esther, how are you? Are you fine? Me too. So hey guys, and welcome to our new episode of Digital Classroom. Now, I always explain to you guys what Digital Classroom is, so I'm going to do the same thing now. And this is our 10th episode. Can you believe it? 10 episodes. So what is Digital Classroom? Well, for me it's a mix between our instructional videos and of course our workshops. Now in a workshop I will go much more in depth in all the stuff that you can ask me. During the instructional videos there's no interaction at all. You can of course stop the video, rewind, forward, rewind, stop again and ask, what did he say? Because he's Dutch, I can't understand his English. Now I'm just kidding, of course. But you cannot interact. Of course you can ask me questions on social media, but it's still different. So we were looking for something in between. Now, of course, I'm not going to give you as many techniques and tips and secrets as we do in our instructional videos or workshops, because of course we have to keep those a little bit more, well, VIP. But in Digital Classroom, you can interact. We're just going to do a photo shoot, we're going to do retouching, and we're going to combine everything in a fun program for you guys to watch and interact. Now, how do you interact? You use the chat room. You can ask whatever you want. Anouk is checking the chat room. And whatever questions we see, we try to answer during our Digital Classroom broadcast. Now, doing something like this isn't cheap. It's expensive. It's very, very work intensive. We have, at the moment, 4 people sitting around. We have a model, we have me. And of course, it takes a lot of preparation and expensive gear. Now, that's why we are very, very happy with the guys from Rogue Expo Imaging, Eric and John, how are you? And of course, BenQ. Jason, I know you're watching. He's a big fan of the show. And BenQ actually renewed the contract with us. So for the next year or so, you're still gonna be stuck with me for Digital Classroom. So what are we gonna do today? Now, normally we're gonna do stuff with strobes, right? We're gonna do stuff with the Ellingram strobes because we love Ellingram. And why do we love Ellingram? It's just a great brand. And today we're gonna do something else. Now, twice a year, we're doing one episode that's totally different. No big strobes. We're gonna use speed lights. Speed lights in the house, man. It's awesome. These are the rock stars of the small strobes. Now, why are those the rock stars of the small strobes? Well, look at this. They're really small. You can change the heads. So this is a really cool device, but often it's regarded as, well, you put it on the camera, you aim it at your model, and that's about it. But you can do so much more. Now, some of you guys out there who think, this is about speed lights, I'm not gonna watch. Do watch, because we're still gonna do a lot about light metering, we're gonna do a lot about coaching the model, and we have this little device. And this is awesome. This one blew my mind. This is the light blaster. So we're gonna use that one too today. We're gonna blast you, Esther. You're gonna love it. Okay, so now the first thing I have to explain about the small flashes, how do you set it up? Well, as you can see here, we're using stands. Now, you can use a stand that's a standard stand. That's a tongue breaker. But you can use a stand that's a standard stand, or you can use one like this. And this is actually a boom stand. Now, why do I love boom stands? Because now I can move my strobes around. I can swivel the heads. I can make them go from the top down. I can do it like this, and I can do whatever I want. So a boom stand is very handy. Now, what kind of boom stands do you need? Well, I use Manfrotto's, but you can use any brand because they're relatively cheap and they're relatively lightweight because the strobes aren't very heavy. The other thing that's very important is how do you mount the strobe? Now, this is a locking mechanism in which you actually take off the strobe. So, Anouk, if you can zoom in a little bit more. So you use the locking mechanism to lock your strobe. There's actually a little point here that goes down and locks the strobe. Now, of course, you can use those conversion kits from, I don't know the names, but there are many out there. It's like a little block and you have a hot shoe on there. The only problem is that that hot shoe isn't very secure. So you put your strobe in, you change it around, and like Anouk's camera now just did, it just moves around like crazy. Now, sometimes that also means that your strobe will fall out. You don't want that, because if this one falls on the ground, yeah, it's probably broken. So you don't want that. So that's why I'm using actually the Photix connectors. And these are delivered with my strobes. And those are actually closed from the front. So Anouk, if you can zoom in on the front, as you can see here, they're closed. Is that visible? Really nice. So what you now can do is you can actually put your strobe in, like you would normally do it on your camera, lock the strobe, and now whatever you do, as long as you go forward, now see, if I'm demonstrating something like this, they normally fall off, but you can actually, whatever you do, you can hit it. Don't hit it too hard, don't, but it won't fall off. Now if I do something like that with the normal connectors, it will 100% certainly fall off. We tried them all. We tried the ones that you screw, we tried the ones that you click in. They are all, I don't want to say garbage, but your strobes will fall down eventually, especially if you have an intern and they just put it on there and they don't tighten it. Don't laugh, my intern is now laughing. She says, oh, it will never happen to me. It actually happened to me, but I always blame my interns. So if you use the original ones, that's much better. So how do you control the strobes? Now in my case, I'm using a Sony system and I use Photix. Now Photix, I absolutely love. And why do I love Photix? Very simple, because they're affordable, but they still have all the qualities of the higher end strobes. Now I'm going to show you how I control my Photix. Can somebody bring me my camera, please? Awesome, so they're going to bring my camera. Drum roll. Awesome. Hello, Steffi,
Hi.
Our new intern. You're now live and 1 million people are watching.
Hi. I'm
Shy.
shy.
Okay, that's no problem. You can be shy. She isn't. Okay. So on my camera, I have a very simple remote control. Now, the nice thing about it is normally with small flash, you can have a problem that you need line of sight. Now, line of sight means that my strobes has to see my trigger, because otherwise they won't fire. Now, in the studio, that will work, barely. But most of the time it will work perfectly. Outside, not so well. So this is why we use radio strobes. Now, if you want to buy cheap, make sure that you buy radio strobes that also support ETTL. Now, in a moment, you're going to see that I'm not using ETTL that much, but it's always handy to have ETTL available. So make sure if you buy it, it supports ETTL. Okay, so you see this orange cable? This is a Tether Tools cable, and we're tethering straight into Capture One. Now, as soon as we start the photo shoot, you're going to see Capture One, and you're going to see a small image of me. So don't worry, you don't have to look at me full screen all the time, unless, of course, you like that. Okay, so we have our camera set up. Now, how do I set up the camera for small flash? Normally, I use ISO 200. Now, why do I use ISO 200 or even 400? Very simple. If I work in the studio, if I use ISO 100, my strobes has to fire a lot of power on my models. With these strobes, you work with AA. Yes, it's AA batteries, we call them pen lights. You use smaller batteries, meaning if you have to give a lot of power, the strobes will recycle slowly and they will drain faster. Your strobe can overheat and you don't want that, right? So if you go to ISO 200 or 400, you don't do a lot of sacrifice in quality, actually probably nothing. But you can recycle faster and you have, in essence, more power. You can shoot on f16 or f8 or whatever you want. Okay, so let's start with the strobes on ETTL. Oh, Anouk, you have a question?
Somebody's asking, please compare the hotspots created with speed lights versus strobes with the same modifier. I personally find the speedlights always tend to have a more noticeable hotspot in the middle.
Okay, so the question is, can I compare the strobes, or in other words, the speedlights, with studio strobes for the hot spotting? I wish I could in a digital classroom. I can't, because at the moment we don't have the same modifiers on both. So I can't do it now. If you want, I can do it later on in a blog post, but I can already tell you the outcome. It doesn't change that much. If you use exactly the same modifiers, a light source is a light source. The problem you probably have is with zooming. Make sure if you use a strobe like this on a normal studio modifier, like a beauty dish or whatever, that you use the white deflector. There's a little one up here. Let me see if I can get it out. There we go. Put the white back. Use this little device, clap it like this, and then you can use, in zoom mode, you can use the wide angle. Now this will spread out the light a little bit more and will give you that softer quality that you used on a studio strobe. If you turn this up and you take it away, the widest you can get is 24 mil, and that will probably give you a little bit of a hot spotting. As soon as you go up like 50 or 70, that will give you a definite hot spot. So I think that's your problem. So let's start first out, if there are no more questions, with the studio setup we're going to do now. So I'm going to turn on my strobes. And the first thing you have to realize, in this system I have 3 groups, A, B and C. Now this one is on A, that one is on B. So I have to make sure that if I set up my system, I'm actually using at the moment TTL 0, 0, 0, everything is zeroed on group A. And this is group A. Don't think I'm smart and I will use all groups together and I figure out what it is. Because that won't work, especially on location when you're already working. Don't take that risk. Put everything else off, because then you exactly know if something goes wrong. Maybe somebody switched over your strobes. So let's start out very simple. We're going to use this strobe and we're going to ask Esther to stand in the middle. And we're just going to aim it straight at my model. I'm using 8 TTL and F8 on manual mode. Now I hear you guys going like, on manual mode? Really? Yes, really. On manual mode, ETTL still works. ETTL on manual mode will actually look at my camera and says, okay guy, you want F8 on 125th of a second, because that's what's set up now. I will give you that. And the ETTL will figure it out. See it as an auto adjustment for your strobe. So let's start. And I will tell you already, this will suck. This will be a terrible picture. There we go. So let's see if the picture comes in. There we go. Okay, this is a terrible shot. Now, why is it a terrible shot? It's almost on camera. And the first thing you learn with strobes is get that strobe off camera. Because if you get it off camera, you can start creating shadows and you can start creating other stuff. But also the light is coming from low. And now, Esther, do you like Halloween?
I guess.
You like Halloween? Oh. Then you can make the strobes go all the way from the bottom. Now, one of the cool things about ETTL is the following. I can take it off and I can actually just aim it. I don't have to meter. And I can just aim it wherever I want. And now I can see the Halloween shot. Oh my. Or the Eddie Munster shot. Oh, can you scream for a moment? 1, 2, 3, go. That's awesome. That's a real Halloween shot. Oh, you scare me. So let's put this one on, because yeah, we like this, but not that much. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to change the position of the strobe. So I'm going to take this one, I'm going to go to the side of my model, and I'm actually going to let it go a little bit up. And let me see. There we go. You look like you're going to be hit by light. There we go. We aim it at our model. And it's still ETTL, so that's pretty cool. So I don't have to do anything, because sometimes I'm a lazy photographer. Now, as you can see, the shadows, let me see if it comes in. There we go. The shadow is now a little bit better. It's falling on the right side. I still like the shadow a little bit more down, because in normal Earth 101, this is Mother Earth, we have the sun up. So if you want harsh quality of light, which this is, it's actually midday, or it's not the night, because that's softer light, right? So I want to have my light a little bit more up, aim down. So there we go. Oh, it's nice, right? Mm. There we go. Okay. The nice thing about ETL, I don't have to meter. And there's also something that's not so nice about ETL, which you're gonna see in a second. Okay, I like the shadow a little bit more, but you can also see that her face is getting a little bit blown out. You see this, right? It's a little bit too white. What you can do is you can use your flash exposure compensation. Excuse me? Yes, flash exposure compensation. What you do is the same thing with normal exposure compensation. You change the output of your strobe. How do you change the output of the strobe? Very simple, on the remote control. So we're going to go to select, and we're going to go to, let's say, -1 stop. Okay, we do the same thing. Nice. And this is much better. I'm going to look at the monitor. There we go, now we have a proper exposure. But this doesn't look really professional, right? Like, okay, we'll just wing it. Now watch this. So we got a perfect exposure, right? And I'm gonna move here. And I'm gonna shoot from here. Now, as you can see in a moment when the image comes in, my exposure is totally off. It's way too bright over here. It tries to compensate, but it just doesn't work. Now, when I go here, and I'm going to shoot almost straight on. Okay, look a little bit there. Perfect eyes towards me. Wow, that's nice. Now, when I look at this, I'm still underexposing by 1 stop, right? As you can see now, I'm literally underexposing. So what's going on? There's nothing going on. This is how ETTL works. In the next segment, we're actually going to use manual strobes. But first, I want to show you something else, because of course, we're going to build the shot. Okay, so I'm going to put this one down. And can you give me the flash bender, please? Now, one of the things that a lot of people miss when they start out with small flash is, of course, modifiers. If you go to your studio, you have a beauty dish, you have a snoot, you have strip lights, you have a deep octas, you have whatever. The list goes on and on and on. With small flash, you can also use softboxes, you can use beauty dishes, and nowadays there's a lot of material. The only problem is, try to bring it with you on a trip. You will need an extra case. Now, a few years ago, I got this product, and it's a flash bender, and this is from Rogue Expo Imaging, and this one is awesome. And why is it awesome? It doesn't take any space in your suitcase. You can fold it up really easily, and it can literally bend the light. For example, I can make a better bounce card by doing this. I know we got any questions?
No, but there might be some problem with the sound.
Oh, what's the problem with the sound?
It's a crack. It's like when you say something loud and just a crackle.
Oh, then audio is too loud. Okay, let me fix that really fast for you guys. 1, 2. I think now it should be better. So, you ask, we do. So, I can use it as a better bounce card by just moving this. Now, the advantage is normally the light goes up and actually leaves through the ceiling. Now it actually is being bounced back. Now, I love the flash benders, and that's no secret. If you follow my work, you know I use them a lot. The only problem was I love high contrast lighting. I love a little bit more bite in my images. So what I asked Expo Imaging was actually, do you also have silver inlays? And at that time, they just released the silver inlays. And you can put them on here, and then instead of the white, you have the silver. The only problem is, it made the flash bender a little bit thicker. It was a little bit more difficult to move around and to bend, and well, it just wasn't the perfect solution. Add another few months, and I was more and more working with the flash bender. I saw the flash bender 2, which is lighter and more bendable, and I really loved it. And at one point I just told them, like, okay guys, can you make one that's silver? And they said to me, we can do whatever you want. And I said, well, if you can do whatever you want, then make one that's not silver, but it's actually a mix between white and silver. And they recently released, and it's now available in the Netherlands and probably soon worldwide, a soft silver. And this one is freaking awesome because it gives you all the quality of white and all the quality of silver in one flash bender. The cool thing is, because it was my idea, they actually gave it my name. So I'm very, very proud of this one. And it's sold separately, so you don't need to buy a whole kit. You can just buy it separately. And in the Netherlands, they retail for 65 euros. Yeah. So they're very, very good. And if you buy it from me, you get my signature. If you buy it in the store, you get my signature. If you buy it online, you get my signature. If you buy it second hand, if they leave it on, you have my signature. So you don't have to buy it from the photographer to get it signed. of course I can also sign it here. No, anyway, so let's mount the flash bender on our strobe and let's see what the difference it makes. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is make sure your strobe is standing straight up. Now, strobes can actually do this and do this, but make sure you click it all the way to the back so it locks. Because they are lightweight, but still. Okay, now it's a simple Velcro system, so you just move it here and you go through the loop. It's like learning to tie your shoelaces for the first time. And there you go. Now I can also make my flash band of my strobe a little bit lower, and I will actually just start by aiming the light. Now I'm still on ETTL, remember, I'm not doing anything else, just ETTL. Now let's see the difference in light. Really nice. Awesome. So I'm still underexposing one stop. There we go. And as you can see, the image quality is way different. It's much softer, the shadows are much nicer, and the quality on the face is much nicer. You don't have that harsh quality of your highlights. It's just better. But the fun thing about this is actually that you can bend it. So why use it as a softbox? Well, because you can, and it's great for wedding photographers. But let's start bending it a little bit more. And this is where you really need that nice boom arm, because now I'm going to place this really close to the background. Now this is a trick that I already showed once, but trust me, we're going to do a lot more extra stuff today. So I'm going to make sure that it's away from the background. There we go. And I'm going to make a sort of U, because a lot of people ask me, how did you do it? And I didn't explain it last time, so I'm going to show you now how I bend it. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to the background.
I have a question about bending the flash bender.
Okay.
Is the flash bender feasible to use on the on-camera flash?
Yes, it can. You can use the flash bender on-camera flash, but I would prefer to take the flash off camera, because on-camera flash gives you very, very flat shadows. Very flat images. But of course you can use it on camera, no problem at all. They even have a smaller flash bender now that's available for the Nissan flitch, so the really small strobes. So that's pretty cool.
There's another question.
Okay.
Is the zoom on the flash set to wide angle to work with the modifiers?
Okay. How is the zoom set is the question. Well, at the moment I have the zoom set on wide. So I'm not going to use any zoom yet. We're going to do that in a moment, but now I just have it set on wide. Okay, Esther, can you look that way a little bit? That's nice. As you can see in a moment, we have a very distinct look now in our image. It's a really aimed light source. The background is very, very dark, and you get that high contrast look. Now, that's without moving around my model. Now, as soon as I start moving around my model, it gets even more intense. Can you look down a little bit? And take the head off a little bit there. Don't take it off, but yes. And now you get that real accent light. We always call it hyper contrast, because we love everything that's hyper. So we did this. Okay, so that's what you can do with the flash bender. Now that's a very quick demonstration, right? Let's up the ante a little bit and let's start adding some other stuff. For example, let's show you what you can do with your zoom. So we're going to take the flash bender off, and we're going to show you very quickly what zoom can do, and then how we incorporate the flash bender into that. So I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to aim my strobe straight at my model. There we go. Oh, that's smart. Anouk is always smart, because he knows otherwise it will fall down. Okay, let's go to zoom. It's on 24. Okay, let's start. Okay, image 1. This is on 24 mil, meaning I zoom on 24. As you can see, there's a lot of light hitting the background. There's a lot of light hitting my model. Now, why can you zoom with the strobe? Very simple. Normally, strobes are, of course, designed to be used on camera. If you're on camera and you use a 24 mil, you feel the view is like this. So you need coverage from your strobe all the way up there. Now if you zoom in to 135, your field of view will actually be this. It's a shame to waste a lot of light on the sides. So your strobe actually zooms. If the strobe is off camera, a lot of people forget that you can zoom. So let's see the difference. You can actually hear the zoom. Now this is 135. You will see that that has a huge advantage on your model. Because at first a lot of the background was lit, and as you can see now, you get that nice vignetting around our model. So that's pretty cool. Now as soon as I start asking my model to do some funky stuff with your arms, because it's a 3/4, there we go. Don't make it glamour, Esther, because we have the whole world watching. There we go, chin up just a little bit. Awesome, that's nice. So as you can see, I'm really getting that pinpoint look on my model, which I love. Now, how can you do that with the flash bender? A lot of people ask me. Well, now it gets really interesting. You have from the flash bender, you also have the snoot with a grid. You can really pinpoint your light with that. But let's say you're on a wedding and you only brought the flash bender. Of course, you brought the Frank Doorhof flash bender because that's the one you need. Now, the problem is, this gives you a lot of flat lighting, which is terrible for certain things. Let's say you have to dance and you want to make sure that the couple really stands out. So what you actually can do is put the flash bender on. Let's first do it up. There we go. Now you see me, now you don't. Always works with little kids. Okay. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bend the flash bender together. And this is why we have Velcro on all sides of this flash bender. And you can do this if you're handy with it, which I'm clearly not. You can do this very quickly. So now the only thing I have to do is aim this at my model, which looks terrifying, right? I can even move my strobe a little bit further away. Are you scared? It looks very intimidating. And there we go. And my cable will be okay. Okay, and there we go. Oh, we have to aim it down a little bit on my model's face. I'm going to move a little bit to the side for more drama. And there we go. And now we have a really tight spot on the model. Let's see if that comes in correctly. So that's even tighter than with the normal zoom of your strobe, right? And it's now on 135. So let's move it a little bit more back. What's the problem?
I was blinking or something.
Oh, you were blinking. Oh, it looks like a how do we call that?
Droopy something.
It looks like a droopy shot. This is what we call the blackmail shot. So if she ever doesn't do what I want, we will blackmail her with this shot. We'll send it to all the agencies and we'll tell her, this is Esther after one night of heavy partying. Okay, there we go. Are you ready? So I moved it a little bit more to the back. And now you can see, and I'm sorry, sometimes I have to look that way because I want to see the effect. There we go. Now it's a little bit out of frame. There we go. Can you look straight through?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So now it should be okay. Remember, if I ask my model, can you see straight through the grid or straight through the light, that means that she's in the hot spot. That's much better. Now let's see what happens if we start zooming. We're still on 135. So we're going to go back to 24. And as you can see, this also has an effect. It's not dramatic, but it still looks different. You see it a little bit on the top sides. So you can actually also play with this. This is cool, right? You like it?
It is.
Yeah, it is. Now imagine having the dance in the wedding. You're shooting ETTL, you see the bride and groom. The only thing you have to do is stand on a ladder or let your assistant stand on a ladder. Aim your strobe toward a ladder, not a letter, a ladder. Staircase, right? So you aim your strobe at the dancing couple and it will really make them pop out. So that gives you an amazing shot. And you can all do it with one flash bender. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about manual control. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the normal flash bender, which goes a little bit easier for me. There we go. Aim it up and go down. If you can come a little bit closer if you want to me, if you trust me. Okay, a little bit closer. That's nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a very soft quality light portrait. So I'm going to use the silver, which normally gives a little bit more bite, but we're still going to use it to create something soft. Now if I leave this flap open, a lot of the light will also hit my background. I don't want that. But I also don't want the light to be on the side of my model, because somehow, you know, then we get a really dark side and we don't want it. With studio strobes, you can of course feather. I can do the same thing here, but why feather and lose all that light intensity? Because then I need more power, right? And more power equals less battery life. What I can do with the flash bender is actually move this side, and I hope you can see it. I just move it like this, and now I'm actually steering my light towards my model. I'm still on ETTL, and can you look a little bit that way? Awesome. And there we go. Let me see how it looks. And now you can see that my background is almost completely dark. Now if I open this up, you will see that my background gets a little bit more light. It depends on what you like. I like it this way. Okay, so now let's talk about manual. Now for manual we need something called a light meter. And Anouk, do you have a light meter by accident?
Yes, I do.
You do? Amazing. So this is a light meter. Now this is the Psychonic 478. Now normally I use the 758, but I also like this one because you guys can now see the display a little bit better. So what do? We have to meter the light. Now the first thing you have to do is make sure that your strobe is not on radio mode. That's the flash with an I from radio, whatever. I don't know where the I stands from. But it's the I symbol. That symbol. I'm Dutch. So that one. Actually, I think it's from antenna. You know, it looks like an antenna. Okay, you go here and you make sure that you're on normal strobe mode. So that's the normal flash, the lightning bolt with nothing extra. That's pretty cool because now when I press this button, the strobe will wait for a pulse. As soon as that pulse is there, it will meter the light. So that's very handy. But how do I get the pulse? Well, I have to use my trigger for that. Now with small strobes, it's very clever to take the trigger off your camera, because don't take a test shot, just take it off your camera. That's why we never tighten those. We always keep it like this. Oh, yeah, that's why we never tighten those. But it's a Forex, it can take a little bit of beating. Okay, don't laugh. That's one intern that's not gonna make tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Not. Okay, let's go to mode manual. Okay, now on manual, you have to remember a few things. Your camera works in 1/3 of an f-stop. Now, if you normally work with studio strobes, you're used, if you follow my courses, that I always set up my light meter for metering in 1/10 of an f-stop. It's very simple to explain. If you use 1/10 of an f-stop and your strobe system uses 1/10 of an f-stop, you can very, very closely set your strobes, which is awesome. In this case, I'm using 1/3 of an f-stop on the remote control, 1/3 over there, but I'm still going to use my light meter on 1/10 because I don't want to change it around constantly. So how do you see this? Very simple. If you see F4 on your light meter, 4.0, it means F4. If you see 5.6.0, it means 5.6. If you see F4.3, don't even think about which f-stop that is. Just go to F4 and give it one click. If you see F4.6, you go up another click. And if you see F4.9, that's actually 5.6. So let's start metering. I now have it set on ISO 200. So there we go. Shutter time 125th, in this case 100. And that's not that important, you know, there's no, well, now there is ambient light, but normally no. The only thing I have to do is use the test button. Now with the photic system, and you will see that in a second, if I press test, you will first see a small flash and then you see a bigger one. And there's about 2.5 seconds in between, even less. Make sure you don't press it at the first one, straight after the first one. The first one is to check if all the strobes are working. The second one is the one that actually gives you the output. So there we go. And I'm now on 4.06. That actually means F4 and 2 clicks extra. Now let's say I want to go to F8. The only thing I now have to do is press here and just go up. 1, that's F5.6. 1, 2, 3. And now I should be on approximately F8. So I'm going to do that again. There we go. Exactly F8. So as you can see, you can calculate it really, really fast. I don't understand why a lot of people have problems with light meters. Because this device is very simple, your tool. Imagine being on the surgeon's desk just before the operation and the surgeon asks, do you know where the appendix is? And the nurse just tells him, start cutting, you will find it yourself. That's how a lot of photographers set up their lighting. They just try until they get something nice. The problem is, if you do that the whole day, you lose a lot of time. You can better just use a light meter, and it goes really fast. Okay, so now I know I'm on F8. Now as long as my model doesn't move, I'm fine. F8, ISO 200. Okay, can you look a little bit that way? That's awesome, love it. That's nice. And now you can see that the exposure is actually spot on. It's a little bit on the hot side, but it's spot on. Yes, you have a question?
Somebody doesn't understand what goes up by 1 click means.
Okay, goes up by 1 click means if I'm now, let's say on F4 on my camera, and I will give 1 click, I will actually see 4.5. If I see another click, I will see 5.0. If I see another click, I'm 5.6. That equals F4, 4.3, 4.6, 4.9 or 5.6. So your system in the light meter works in tenths of stops. So you go from F4.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5.6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, F8. Your camera works in thirds of an f-stop. So your camera goes from 5.6, 6.5, 7.1, F8. So it doesn't go in 10 stops. Your small strobe system also goes in 1/3 of an f-stop. So now at the moment, when you look at your light meter, everything that's equal by 3, so 4.3, 4.6, those are all in-between stops. 4.2, that's not an in-between stop. So or you move your strobe a little bit closer to get to 4.3, or you move your strobe a little bit further away to get to 4.0. Now outside, if you don't have control over changing the light output, right, you have to be smart. If you're shooting somebody with a white dress, go to the stop right above what your light meter says. So if your light meter says f4.2, if you go to your camera, 4.0, 4.2, well, 4.3 would be 4.5, right? So 4.5 on the camera. Then you go like, okay, maybe I should shoot on 4.5 or should I shoot on 4.0? So overexposed by 2/10 of a stop or underexposed by 1/10 of a stop. Now be smart. If you're shooting somebody in a white dress, you can better shoot on 4.5. That's on the light meter 4.3, right? So 4.3 is actually 4.5 on the camera. Let me give another example because I think this is confusing. Let's go up. Let's go to F8. So I'm on F8. I use my light meter outside and my light meter says f8.2. Now if I were metering f8.3 and I would go 1 click up, I would be at f9. But I'm not at f9, I'm at 8.2. So I can choose. I can shoot on f9 and underexpose a little bit, or I can shoot on f8 and overexpose a little bit. Now if you're shooting somebody in a black dress, you go to f8, because then you overexpose it a little bit, giving more shadow detail. If you're shooting somebody in a white dress, you underexpose a little bit, so you go to f9. It's only 1/10 of an f-stop, but if you want to be very, very secure, that's how it works. Okay, so I now have to shoot on f8. Let me see. Can you look a little bit up and just hold your head like this with the other hand? That's awesome. Really nice. Can you hold both hands like this? That's nice. Okay, so now we have some shots with a very soft quality of light, just from one Flashbender. Now, as you can see on the background, there's a slight shadow. Now, some people go berserk about shadows. They go like, I don't want that shadow there. Can I remove that shadow? Yes, you can. By just changing your own position just a little bit, for example, here, you'll actually lose very, very much of that shadow, probably all. And it's gone. Now, how does that work? You always have to follow the line of sight. Meaning, if this is my strobe, this is my model, the shadow will be there. If this is my light, and this is my model, the shadow will be there. So if I'm standing here, and the line of sight goes like that, I will see a shadow. If I step here, and I'm shooting like this, I will actually miss that shadow. So, or you move your light, or you move yourself. It's easy, right? You even understand. Right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, he does. Okay, so now we shot on f8. It looks pretty nice. In the next set, we're actually going to shoot with the light blaster. But first, I'm going to show you very simple, some retouching tips. And after that, we'll be back with the light blaster. So, join me to my computer. And I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to kick those guys away. And we're going to do some retouching. And I hope the audio is now better, Anouk. So if somebody in the chat room can see if the audio is better now. Okay. So I'm now sitting behind the computer.
There's another question.
Okay.
Do you shoot in aperture priority and make adjustments by then instead of using the light meter?
Okay, I will switch to this camera very quickly so you can see me here. Oh, by the way, just a quick question to my interns. Did you show Capture One big with the smaller inlay so people saw the images coming in? Okay, cool, because now it's on another camera, so I freaked out a little bit. So the question was, did you shoot on aperture priority mode or did you shoot on manual? You can shoot on aperture priority mode outside. The problem is in our studio, this is, by the way, a webcam, so that's why it looks a little bit weird. If you shoot in the studio, it's very wise to shoot on manual mode. If you shoot aperture priority, the camera will always try to also mix in the ambient light. When you shoot manual mode, the camera knows there's no ambient light, or at least I have to do what my boss said, the photographer, right? And that's why you shoot on manual mode. So that's a very, very simple trick. If you shoot in the studio, shoot manual. If you shoot outside, you can still shoot manual, but you can also shoot, of course, on on AV mode. But in the studio, AV mode will give you long shutter times, and you don't want that. Okay, so let's switch to my desktop, and let's see what we can do. There we go. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is make sure that you find the correct images. Now, in my case, I'm using Capture One. And Lightroom works pretty well too. There's no problem with Lightroom, of course, but I just like the quality of Capture One a little bit more. So let's see. Now this image I find a little bit depressing, so this one I will just delete. Okay, this is okay. I don't like this one. It's a hairy monster shot. No. This one is pretty cool. No, I don't like the shadows. This is better. This is much better because the exposure is good. This one is nice. A little bit too little light in her eyes, so we're going to remove this one. This one is nice, but no expression. A little bit, I don't like the lighting here. Love this one. This is okay, but the expression, no. This one is nice. No, no. As you can see, everything I don't like, I delete immediately. Now, why do I delete it? I know I'm not going to do anything with it, so just delete the shots. Love this one. Love this one. This one is okay. Nice. I love this one. This one I'm going to give 5 stars. Okay, now go back. I also like this one. Okay. Now, as you can see, I forgot to rename my shots. So I can still do that now because I didn't do any retouching yet. So let's rename this. So go to File, Batch, Rename Images. And let's call this Esther. And let's go to Normally I do my renaming in Lightroom, May 4th. There we go. And of course reset our name counter. Oh, sorry, I'll reset it to 0. Awesome. Now also make sure that you do it here. Esther, May 4th. Let's keep this one, May. Awesome. Okay, so now I got my images, and a lot of people ask me, like, how do you go to Lightroom, or do you do it straight from Capture One, or what is your workflow? Well, my workflow in this case is I go straight from Capture One into Photoshop. Sorry, I had to take a little sip of drink in between. And in Capture One, you here have the gear. Now, on the gear, you can actually create recipes. For example, in this case, Frank to Photoshop, where I set TIFF, 16 bits, uncompressed Pro Photo RGB, Adobe Photoshop CC 2015. That's what it has to open with. I can also put my output location here. So I can actually tell my computer to not open it somewhere where I don't want it, but I want it, of course, in a location where I need it. And in my case, that's going to be on a separate drive. Let me see where that drive is. SSD extern retouch Capture One. There we go, set as output folder. And now it will save my files over there, and I can still retouch from there if I want any tinting done in Capture One. Or I can just copy the files from there, of course, to my final location, which, of course, will be entered into Lightroom after that. Now in Lightroom it's very simple. You use Command E to go into Photoshop. With Capture One use Command D. And now it will start up Photoshop. Now with Esther, the retouching is going to be incredibly simple, because as you can see, she has great skin, so I don't need a lot of retouching here. Oh, by the way, I can see the chat room now, so if you have any questions, Anna-Week is gone for a second. As soon as she's back, she will go through all your questions, so don't think I'm ignoring you. Which I will never do. Okay. Now, the first thing I always do, I have a very simple workflow. My workflow is threefold. 1, I do the big problems. 2, I do the skin. 3, I make the image pop. 4, I do the tinting. And 5, I store. So we go to View 100%, and I use the healing brush. Now, and with the healing brush, I just do some small adjustments. Now, I'm not going to use any skin softeners on her, for the very simple reason she has these nice freckles, and I don't want them to go. And when you use skin softener, and sometimes you see these adverts for skin softening software, and they show somebody as beautiful as Esther with all these freckles, which I think are incredibly cute. And then you see the final result, and all the freckles are gone. And I go like, oh, okay, I don't want that software, because I want those freckles in. I hope I pronounced that correctly, by the way, Fraggles. We had a TV show for kids that was called The Fraggles. So I think I messed that one up. Okay. And remember, you're shooting models, you're not shooting Barbie dolls. So don't overdo skin softening. Whenever you retouch, make sure it's real. And that also means with the head, I will take out a lot of these like little white dots. But I will also leave a few in, because it has to look real. And if you leave a few mistakes in, it will look real. Okay, these hairs can go. I don't like stray hairs that much. As you can see, if I remove that one, it doesn't look nice. So just leave that one in. What you can do is, of course, you can tilt your healing brush like this and try to do it a little bit more like dapping. That looks better. There we go. Better than it was. Okay, nice. I'm gonna take these out. Okay, so that's more than enough for now. Now, let's say that I look at this image and I go like, yeah, it looks pretty nice, but I want that stone a little bit more bright. Now what I can do is I can actually use the dodge tool, and I can just go over the stone. And it will pop out a little bit more, same with the necklace. A little bit of highlights on her shoulder. There we go. And you see a lot of people try to clone those out, and I actually put them in. It's because I think it makes it look more real. Okay, now let's do a little bit for the background. Now let's make a duplicate layer, because as soon as I do something more intense, I always work on a duplicate layer. I don't use a lot of layers or copies of layers. I think that's complicated stuff, so don't do that. So go to filter, and one of the things that I love to use is intensify. Intensify from McFun is absolutely amazing. I think it's one of the best plugins from the last few years. So it's going to start up. So one moment. And as you can see, I have a lot of presets here. Now those presets you can buy on my website. I'll very quickly show you where, because we also have a great deal on McFun. If you go to my website, Frank Doorhof, oops, I don't know how to spell my own name, frankdoorhof.com, and you go to the blog. Now, if you go to the shop, you can actually see presets. Now, on this part of the website, you can find all the presets. Now, because we're streaming, our internet is a little bit slow. But here you can see the DxO Film Pack, and Alien Skin, Analog FX Pro, McFun, and of course the McFun Tonality. And they're all €7.50. Now, one of the tips I want to give you guys, don't buy presets that retail for, and I've seen prices up to €199. That's about $225. Now that's ridiculous, come on. You can create those presets, and of course you can make money, but I think that's a lot of money. So for €7.50, you know, it's a great start. Now if you have a Mac, which you should of course, no, I'm just kidding. You go to frankdoorhof.com and you type in McFun. If you do this, you will actually come on a landing page from McFun, and you can see that we offer the Creative Kit, especially for you guys, for €119 in euros instead of €301. So that's a lot cheaper. Okay, so let's take one of my presets. I always love the Poppy Drama tree. There we go. And what you see is it enhances the background. It just gives it a little bit more bite. Now in this case, I like it only on the background, so let's do apply. Anuvika, are there any questions?
It's pronounced freckles with emphasis on the CKL portion.
It's pronounced Fraggles.
What's the closest thing to McFun for Windows?
Okay, somebody asks, what's the closest thing to McFun for Windows? Getting a Mac. No, I'm just kidding with you guys. The one thing that I really like on the Windows system is actually Topaz Clarity. That's incredibly close to McFun Intensify. It's not as defined, but it's very, very good. Now, if you go to the same website, Frank Doorhof, there's a discount page actually, where you can also find Topaz for discount. Now, as you can see on the face, I don't like it. Now, the nice thing about Photoshop is you actually always have layers on top of each other. That means that the bottom layer has no effect, the top layer has the effect. But you can also blend them, so you can say, okay, I want a little bit down, a little bit, no, just up, no down, no up. And you know, sometimes you like it a little bit more there, but not here. And that's cool, because Photoshop has another option, and that's called layer masks. So let's go to layer mask and do a hide all. Now everything is gone, and you see a black piece of paper over here. Now if you take a brush, and you change the color to white, you can actually paint the effect in. But you can do that on 100%, which is nice, but you can also, of course, change the opacity of your brush. And you can do it on half. Now, some people ask me, like, is there another way to do it? Yes, in Photoshop you always have different ways. So what you can actually do is go here and just drag it down to gray. And all the tints of gray, I want to say all 50 of them, but that's an old joke. All tints of gray will work. Now the fun thing is, as soon as I start again, as you can see, nothing happens. It doesn't add up. If I lower the opacity of my brush, it does add up. So there are always, you know, advantages and disadvantages of this technique. So if I go to white again, and I lower my opacity, and I start doing this and this, you can see that it gets darker twice. Go back, go back. And it doesn't do that if you paint with middle gray or 70% gray or whatever you want. So let's start here. I want a little bit more of the accent here. And as you can see, I use the effect very, very sparsely, or I don't use it a lot on this shot. A little bit on her dress, on her shirt, sorry. Maybe a little bit on her hair. And it's very subtle, but you can see the difference. It's a huge difference. I like the way that it now enhances a little bit of the shadows there. Oh, sorry, of the background. I don't know what's going on with me today. So what did I do? You can actually see the painting here. So if you saw, okay, you miss a spot, then you can actually paint it in again. Okay. And that was actually done by clicking on the mask and holding the Alt key. Okay, let's say that I like this. Now, what I always do, and some people say it's wrong, but, well, it's the way I do it. I always flatten my image. Because now I'm working with a fast computer, but sometimes I'm also working with a laptop. And with a laptop, especially this is very important. As you can see here, I'm now at 225 megabytes on one layer. If I have two layers, that will actually double. I will show you. If I do this, just give it a second. There we go. Now it's 450 megabytes. So if I constantly just do this, it will now be 675. So we don't want that. We want as little as possible. Okay. Now let's say you want to take this part out. And you go like, you know, I like that trick of flattening my images, my layers, but I don't want that constantly. I still want to keep my layers in. Is there a way to save memory without doing that flatten my layers? Yes, there is. It's a really cool trick. Go to layer, go to new layer, and just use an empty layer. Now let's say I want to remove this, and I want to do that with the healing brush or the clone tool, whatever you guys want. Let's start with the healing brush. You can go into the healing brush, and what you can actually see here is that you see sample all layers. This is cool because now if I'm on here, it will also sample from the bottom layer. You can also say current and below, meaning it will sample from the current and below if you have something on top. So let's start and just take the effect out. There we go. So the first thing I will do with my healing brush, now you can see that it doesn't look right. So I'm going to switch to my clone tool, lower the opacity, and as you can see all layers, make it a little bit bigger, sample here, and actually massage the problem away. There we go. Now as you can see there's some overlap here, but it doesn't matter. This is actually what's on that layer. Now because it's on that layer, what I can actually do is do a layer mask. In this case, reveal all. Use black paint, zoom in to, let's say, 200%. Go here. Let me change that to 100%, of course. And I can actually make sure that this line is straight again. Now in this case it's of course a very, very simple retouch, but sometimes this will literally save your butt because, well, sometimes retouches aren't that simple. And in this way you can actually make it really nice and easy. Now if you make a mistake, you press the X key and you can actually paint the filter back in again. Oh, sorry, the effect back in again. And I can see it before and after. Now normally, because it's a human being, I will start at 0 and I will just soften the effect. I won't take it out completely. In this case, let's just take it here. Okay. Now, as you know, probably if you saw more digital classrooms, I love analog photography and I always want to tint my images. Now in the past I always told you guys use DxO Film Pack. Now DxO Film Pack is still awesome. But with the recent release of Alien Skin X, I have to be honest, I like Alien Skin Exposure X just a little bit more. And I'm totally honest with you guys, I'm a DxO image master. I love DxO products, I love the DxO Film Pack, but as you can see, I'm totally honest to you guys. If I tell you guys something like, okay, you can buy this, please trust me, because it's the honest truth. Now what I like about this is that I can actually go over my previews and real life see what it does. And I love this look. But I also love this one. And I like this one. And you see how fast it goes? And this is even with screen sharing. So my computer gets a little bit of a hit, of course. I love this one, the Chinese horror too. And you see a before and after. It just gives you a little bit of extra three-dimensionality. Now make sure that you go to 100% to make sure that there's no grain, because some of these presets have grain. I will show you very quickly where you can find that. So that's over here. So I just turn the grain on and off. So let me show you what grain looks like. Some people call it noise. We call it grain because grain looks way more interesting. So just overdo it a little bit so you guys can see. See, this is grain. And we don't want it on this shot. We want it nice and clean. And press apply. Okay. Now it runs the filter. And there we go. And again, it's very subtle. It's the difference between this and this. But for me, it just works. The skin tone is a little bit nicer. Okay, do a flatten image and save. And we actually did our first shot. There we go. And now because I'm in Capture One and I know where I stored it, as you know, it's stored it in this folder, you will actually start seeing the image here. And there we go. So it's very easy to find back, and from here I can actually drag it towards my Lightroom catalog. For example, in this is where my Lightroom lives. So I can just drag it over there, and then Lightroom just syncs that folder. So it's very easy to do. Okay, so my model is almost ready, and I'm almost ready for the second part, and that's going to be the one where we use the light blaster. But first I want to show you guys something that we created. We are doing with Nadine a live workshop in Slot Wochlum very soon. That's in Germany. So if you're in Germany, watch this trailer and you can now register on our website. So there we go, guys. One moment. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and this is our crazy stylist and awesome model Nadine. Now on, what was it again? July 3rd, right? We do so many workshops, but this is a special one. July 3rd will be in Germany, in Schloss Wochlum. That's very near to Dortmund. And the workshop will be in English. Don't worry, I'm not going to speak only German. I can speak a little bit German. You can speak a lot German, right? Ambition. She can speak ambition German. And I can speak a little bit, so don't worry. We'll have some fun. And of course we'll have bratwurst. Currywurst, yes, that will be no problem at all. Now it's serious. This workshop will be awesome. We'll be working on location in a great castle. We'll be doing lighting. We'll be doing coaching the model. I will teach you all kinds of stuff for workflow. Nadine will talk about styling. And of course, when you work with Nadine, there's awesome styling, dresses, crazy hairdos. And of course, Nadine is, I think, one of the most talented stylists out there, but also a great model with her expressions. So if you want to work on your portfolio and you want to learn a lot about model photography, this is the workshop for you. July 3rd, Schloss Wochlum, that's very near to Dortmund, and I won't speak any German, I promise. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I want to tell you today about the new 27-inch monitor from BenQ. Now, I'm a fashion photographer and I like my colors to be as they are in real life, because I do my best to light my scene correctly, to style the scene, to have great makeup, great model, and then I see my images on a monitor and they look like, well, very dull. Well, that can happen to you too, and it will probably happen to you. You know the problem? Your monitor is not up to spec. Now, a monitor isn't a monitor. It's not something that just shows you the image. There are many different kinds of monitors. Like TV sets, your very expensive ones, which will give you better image quality, right? Now, with computer monitors, we always tell people it's all about the color space. For example, you have an sRGB monitor, or for the professionals, an Adobe RGB monitor. But if you don't know what that means, it doesn't make any sense. Now, let me make it simple. These are the colors in real life. So this is what you capture, right? It's great, it's vibrant, it's saturated, it's real life. Now an sRGB monitor, it's a really small color space. And that's okay for the web or for a laptop or just simply browsing your images. But if you want those more vibrant colors, you need something a little bit bigger. And that's an Adobe RGB color space. It's just a bigger color space. But it also means that the monitor has to show those colors. Now, in the past, those monitors were pretty expensive, especially a 27-inch. And BenQ really made me enthusiastic about this monitor because it's very affordable. It's delivered with a hood. So, in other words, it will cut down on your glare. And it's, well, I can give you all the bells and whistles about it. Like, it has all the inputs you need. It has all the specs. It's 99% Adobe RGB. But in the end, it all boils down to one thing: image quality. And I'm very picky. And as you can see, it's my main editing monitor at the moment. So I'm very enthusiastic about the monitor. If you are looking for a great monitor and you want something in the 27-inch, and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, check out the new BenQ 27-inch. And for me, the most important thing is that it has a hardware calibration option, meaning you use their own software and you use a calibrator. And you can really make sure that the reds are as red as they are intended. Now, I know a lot of monitors come with this sheet, like, I'm calibrated in the factory. That's great, but it doesn't make any sense because your computer is different. So you have to recalibrate. Now, when do you recalibrate? I always recalibrate before a very important retouch session. For example, if I have to do a wedding or a fashion shoot, I will just let my monitor warm up for half an hour or an hour, do the calibration, and then I do my retouching. That way, I know for sure that my colors are accurate. So BenQ, job well done. I'm very happy with the monitor. And you guys, if you're in the market for a new monitor, check out the new BenQ series because they're really knocking one out of the ballpark with this series. And we're back after our commercial break, which of course has to be done, right? Now, what can I say? This device blew my mind in a good way. It's the Light Blaster, and a lot of you guys have asked me about it, like, Frank, how do you create that effect? And I said, it's the Light Blaster. What the hell is a Light Blaster? So today I'm going to show you. Now, remember the old days where you had slides? You can, of course, use those in there too. Now, what I have here is actually, I don't know what it is. It's something like Gotham, or I don't know, it's a city. But the thing that I'm going to use first is actually this. And this is called gobos. Now, this is metal, and they actually create patterns. Now, this one we used yesterday for smoke. We're going to, don't destroy the city, Frank. We're going to use, we have shot a new instructional video called Creativity with Nadine also on there. And we did the final scenes yesterday where we actually used the Light Blaster. So we use some smoke, and this is awesome for smoke. But I'm going to take that one out now. Now, why don't people have 3 arms? And I have some more here. Now, let me see if there's something that's interesting. We have a circle. No, we have this. No. Let's do some trees. I don't know. Trees. No, I don't like trees. Let's.
Should be a sky in it.
There should be a sky. No, I don't like skies. I like the stars, but I already did the stars. So let me see if we have something else. We're going to use the cityscape? No. Everything that N-Week says yes, I say no. So we're still going to use the stars. Why not? Okay, the cool thing is you can just change these. And so what I can do is I can just take one out of this package, put it in your pocket, and just slide it in like this. And with the abstract ones, it doesn't matter what's up and down. Do remember that it's upside down in that thing to make it appear upside down. Actually, make it appear correct on the background. So let me see, why doesn't it fit? Ah, there we go. Make sure that you click it in correctly and then just put it in. There we go, that's all. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this all the way here. And on the front, we actually mounted a very cheap Ying, or whatever the name is, a lens from Canon. Now, the system works with Canon lenses, but of course you can use a converter to use any lens you want, Nikon or M42 or Leica or whatever. If you use Leica, give me an email, because then I'm going to sell you a lot of instructional videos, because you're nuts. Use the cheapest lens possible and the fastest lens. That's very important. This is a 1.8. And that's okay, but don't ever try this system with a 5.6 lens or an f4 because it will literally eat your light away. So let's start very simple with just a light blaster and our beautiful model, Esther. Hello, Esther. Let me see where my camera is. My camera is here. Now, I'm not going to shoot ETTL. I'm not going to meter. Now, why am I not going to meter? Very simple. I don't know where the light is going to hit her. And if you want to meter, you have to have a certain focus point where to aim the meter, right? Towards a light source. Or in the case of a meter, of course, hold it in front of our model in the area you want correctly lit. And that's not possible now because we don't know where the light is going to fall. So let's just try something. And I'm now in manual mode. Let me just give a little bit more power. Let's go to half power on the strobe. Make sure that you're not in front of it because that will be tricky. And we have no image coming in. Do you see this? This is black. And you remember why I told you guys always check your group, because this is actually group B. So go to group B, go to manual mode, and go to half power. There we go. And we still don't have any, because Anna Week turned off my strobe.
To save batteries.
To save batteries. Thank you, Anna Week. Yeah. Yes, he's a fast learner. There we go. Now we have some image on the screen. So as you can see now, you can see that we have all these stars on my model. The only problem is she's in the dark and I want her in the light, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change my light source just a little bit. There we go. And now she should be in the middle of a star. And maybe even aim it back a little bit more. Let me see. Yes, aim it back a little bit. It's very, very sensitive. Love it. Think this is better. Just do it just a little bit more. Can you move a little bit that way? Just one, yes, one fraction. You have to remember where you saw the star. That's awesome. Now she's in the middle. Just aim it down a little bit. Awesome. Always tell your model she's doing fine. Even if you're fine tuning, don't tell her, okay, we're almost there. No, you're doing fine. Okay, I like this shot. I really like it. The only thing is it's a little bit too bright. So what I'm now going to do is I'm actually going to change my aperture. I'm going to go to f8. Remember, I'm shooting manual. So if I now go to f8, my exposure on my model will actually go down. Let me see if it worked. That's really nice. Now the fun thing is I can start using my focus. So if I focus my lens, I can actually make the effect a little bit less obvious. Make it a little bit sharper, or let me see what happens now. This is sharper. It looks like a girly magazine. Or I can actually make it a little bit softer. Let me go to the extremes that you guys can see. So go to very extreme. And now you can only see that it's like a little bit of a dodging pattern on the back. You can almost not see that it's stars. I'll go somewhere in the middle. I like that. Now I start out very simple, as you can see. I'm just starting out on my model, making sure that she's in the center. Now I'm actually going to make my shot. I'm actually going to move closer to my model. If you want to look down just a little bit, that's awesome. There we go. And now what you can actually see is that because we're using more tension, getting a little bit closer, the effect actually works pretty well because now we're shooting under an angle. And always when you shoot under an angle, you get more contrast, you get a little bit more bite in your shot. I like it a little bit sharper. There we go. Can you step one step that way? Very, yes, that's it all. And now look that. That's awesome. So I really like this effect. And now she's a little bit too much in the star. So can you lean against the backdrop and move that way? And this is one of the problems if you don't have modeling lights. You don't exactly know where the stars are going to fall. So this is something you have to prepare your model for. This can take a little bit of time. On the other end, if you have the shot, you can just keep shooting it. And then you have some awesome shots. And it's always a matter of communication with your model. And as soon as you're clear to your model, like, okay, this is going to take a little while, we have to make this shot work, she will understand, right? Can you look a little bit more that way? Because I didn't like the nose shadow. Awesome. Now, if you don't like shadows on that side of her nose, like here, just move your model the other way. There we go. I love this shot. This is awesome. Okay, we're going to do a few more. Experiment a little bit with expressions and with your arms. That's really nice. Maybe play a little bit with the chain. Awesome. The other hand also in the frame. That's nice. Wait for the BPS. I was a little bit too fast, sorry guys. Okay, now I'm gonna get even closer for a more high contrast look. Love it. Chin up just a little bit. Awesome. Chin up even more. Close your eyes. Really nice. So as you can see, you can use it as a main light source, but you can also use it for something else. We're going to project in a second. Anouk, you have a question?
Yes, I have a few questions.
A few.
Is there a similar product like Light Blaster in the Elinchrom range?
There is a product in the Elinchrom range called the Projector. I think it's called the Projector. It's a gobo projector. It's a big device. And it's a little bit more expensive than the Light Blaster. I believe it's about 900 euros. And you can use gobos on it, but I don't think you can use slides. And that's what I'm going to use in a moment. And the slides are really cool. So cheap, no. Light Blaster is pretty cheap. Now the Light Blaster is now mounted on a small strobe, right? There is a conversion kit where you can actually mount it on your big strobes. So we actually use it on the Elinchroms. So yes, you can use it on Elinchroms too. And of course on Pro Photos or Hansel or whatever. If you have an Elinchrom system and you say, okay, I want to use the modeling lights, because the problem with this product is you can't use the modeling lights. You can use them for a few seconds. If you leave the modeling lights on longer, I hope you like the smell of plastic, because it will start to melt. And we found out the hard way. So if you have a Light Blaster, don't use your modeling lights, especially not on full power like this guy did. So now my Light Blaster is a little bit shorter, but it still works. And you can mount it on any strobe, of course. So you can use your modeling lights very short, just set everything up, focus it, turn the modeling lights off. Another question, Anouk.
There's somebody wondering why you don't use the light meter.
Okay, I don't use the light meter in this setup because I don't know where the light is falling. Now, as soon as I know that my model is inside that star, I can still use a light meter, of course, and meter it. But sometimes we just lose patterns over the face, or we have stripes over a face because we focus it a little bit more. Now, with the stars, there are wide open spaces. But if I use, for example, stripes, let me just show you, and you will understand why we can't use a light meter. So let's change. And another question in between, Anouk?
No.
No questions? Okay, so let's change this for, let's say, our stripes. And then you know exactly what's going on. Okay, so let me see that I'm still on camera. Okay, so we're going to take the stars away. We're going to put the stripes in. For you Americans, the stars and stripes. Okay, let me see. I have to make sure that it fits. There we go. Okay, so now I took the stars out and put the stripes in. Okay. And now you will see why we can't use a light meter. Awesome. Because if I use a light meter on this one, there's a big chance I'm actually going to meter one of the stripes, or in this case, where's my model? That's weird. Yeah, that's because we're actually using the center part, which is, in this case, blocked. So let's move this one, let's say a little bit up. And let's make a shot. This is the perfect way to shoot my mother-in-law. This is a little bit better. So now what I actually have to do is, of course, make sure that my model is bright enough. So I have to open up the aperture. So let's go to f5. Aim this a little bit more up. Just hold it with my hand like this. Oops, that's a little bit too much. That's better, I think. So as you can see, you can really steer the light. One moment, guys. I don't know why it's not firing. There it goes again. Okay, Esther, can you kneel down just a little bit? Not much. A little bit more. Yes, there we go. So if I can't steer the light, we're going to steer the model down. So as you can see now, all the lines are looking over a face. You have this really nice light fall off. So what I'm actually going to do is let's go to 2.8 ISO 400 and create something that's a little bit more interesting. Here we go. And now you get a really nice effect. Like a little bit of an aura. Okay, so this is with the gobos. Now I don't like this particular shot, it's just to show you guys why we don't use a light meter. Now this is one of the options. The other option is this, and this is a slide holder. Now the slide holder I can put in, and I can actually project something like a building or an old slide. And you can use any slide you still have at home. So if you go to a flea market or whatever and you buy some old slides, that's what you can use. And a week stop playing. I'm just kidding, she just showed you the gobo. Okay, so let's see how this looks. And again, I can't use a light meter here because I don't know what I'm doing, because I don't know what I'm metering, where my model is. So this is actually the slide I'm using now. It's a city, as you can see. Well, you can actually not. So let's see if I can get it a little bit sharper. There we go. Let's move it a little bit closer to make sure that it fits. Can you see the lens, Esther? Can you see through the lens?
Yeah, just a bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And there we go. Now you can see the cityscape in the background. Now, how can you make something more interesting with this? What you can do is you can move your model forward and make sure that that background really pops. So let's try that. So first, let's take the model out of the set. So if you want to get out of the set, normally I don't say that to models, but let's just start with the building on the background. Okay, let's move this a little bit closer, or lower, I mean. So I'm first going to just shoot the wall. And let me see what we get. Okay, there we have that building. Okay, and let's close down just a little bit, F4. This is something you can do, of course, before the model gets on set. Okay, let me see if we can focus this just a little bit. This is why I love shooting it on the bigger strobes, because with the modeling lights I can actually see what I'm doing. And now it's just a little bit guesstimate. On the other hand, this is just so much fun. I want it a little bit sharper. As you can see, I'm adjusting the focus. I hope you guys can see that. There we go, I really like this. I like the way that it looks like the old paintings and photos you saw with that blown out sky. And I love comics, and you get this a lot in comics, like that really weird background, the Instagram effect. No, just kidding. Okay, so now I want my model in. I don't want my model to be lit by this projector. So I'm actually going to ask my model to stand here. So the guys have to adjust the projector, the cameras just a little bit. And there we go. Let me see if I can get that background in and my model in front. Now the model will be dark, very dark. There we go. Okay, if I move myself a little bit lower, let me see if I can position the light a little bit more on the back of her. There we go, maybe a little bit more on the side. And I have to remember where I stood. There we go, really like this. Let's move this a little bit further back to make it a little bit bigger, because if I move it back, it will actually get bigger on the background. Make sure that I know where my model stands. Yeah, I really like this. Now what I want to do is I want to add some light on my model, but I don't want to add too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my strobe, my second strobe, the A channel, and I'm going to use a grid on this one. So I'm going to take this. Now the only thing I have to realize is from which side do I want a lighter. Now if I'm going to shoot it like this, I actually want my light to be coming from the same side as the slide. And that's why I love to use the grid for this one, because it really channels my light towards that background. So anyway, can you give me the grid, please? Now this is the other Rogue product that I really, really like. It's the grid. Now, what you can see with this is that it actually has a grid inside. It means it really steers my light. And I love light that's being steered towards my model. I don't like light that just goes anywhere like a big softbox. So let's take this one out. There we go. And put this one on. Okay, one moment. Great. Okay, now the only thing I have to do is aim it at my model via a cross. So I'm going to put this one here. And I have to make sure that I don't hit that one. Yeah, I made it a little bit difficult for myself, I see. But that's the fun part about a live broadcast. I think this will work. Can you see through the grid?
Just a bit like, no, I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Now, why do I ask her to see through the grid? Because as soon as she sees through a grid, she's in the hot spot of the light, meaning she gets all the light. Turn this one on. There we go. And this is channel A. On channel A, I can use a light meter. For the very simple reason, this is my main light source. You do have to realize that I already actually determined where my light should be at. Because I looked at my background, I like the background it is now. If I start adding light on her and I don't take into account the background will change in light output. So I have to look at my camera what my settings are. And my settings are ISO 400 f4. So that means that with my light meter I have to make sure that that one is ISO 400 f4. So we're going to start that one up. Go to ISO 400. And I have to meter the light. That's all I have to do. And make sure it's f4. And because I'm on manual mode, I can very easily adjust everything. 16.7. That's a lot of power. So we go to this channel and go all the way down. There we go. Oops. Doesn't do what I want to do. That's weird. Anyway, we're just going to wing it because it doesn't do what I want. We're going to figure that out later. And that's the nice thing. If a light meter doesn't work, something is wrong because normally it does work. Well, we'll see later. Okay. I think I went a little bit too much down. Then it doesn't register anymore and it just registers that one. Can happen. Okay, there we go. Can you look a little bit that way? Towards that grid. Really nice. Probably the model will be overexposed a little bit. Yeah, I know what went wrong. Okay, gonna fix that later. So now I'm doing it the way that normal people do it if they don't use a light meter. I'm just gonna experiment. Now watch this, it will still be overexposed and the background will be underexposed. Now what am I doing wrong? Remember group A and group B? That's what I did wrong. And that's because I'm talking to you guys and I'm looking at my screens. So, my mistake. As you can see, we all make mistakes. We're all human, right? Okay, there we go. Now it should be okay again. Awesome. So now I have that light set up. So now the only thing I have to do is make sure I have a little bit of a lower standpoint. In this case, I'm going to use this chair, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. By zooming in, I'm going to narrow my own field of view and make sure that everything is nice and dandy in the frame. Probably it will not be at the first shot, and that's why we try it a few times. There we go. Go a little bit closer to the model. Really nice. That's awesome. Okay, let's see how far we can get the projector away, because I want maybe a little bit more fill on the background. Let's just hope that the model doesn't hit the light. Nice. I think this will be pretty okay. There we go. This is just on the corner. It's working. Okay, turn around just a little bit that way, and just look down. Love it. Let me see. Very nice. Can you step one? Step that way. Oh. Nice. Okay, just a few different positions. Now with the small strobes, you have to wait until you hear both beeps. If you hear both beeps, you can shoot again. And this is something I sometimes do wrong, as you can see here. Then I'm too fast, and the strobes didn't recharge yet. We're using, by the way, how is it called? Antelope batteries, I know it? Penelope batteries, and those are really good. We first used something else, and those were really slow with recycling, and these are amazing. They're black, and I like black. There you go, this is really nice. Now the nice thing, because I'm using remote controlled strobes, is that I can now actually start tailoring my light. So if I say, okay, I want my model to be lit like this, I really like this, I want my background lighter. I can just go here, and let's say I want my background a full stop brighter. It's twice as bright. Of course, now I have to wait longer for the strobe to recycle, but you get that more blown out feel. That's nice. Now let's say you go like, Frank, I want more light on my background, but I'm already on maximum. How do I do it now? I show you a little trick. I'm on F4, ISO 400. Now watch this. If I go into my channel A and I go down 6 clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's actually not possible. I'm now on the lowest setting already. I can just wing it a little bit. I can just go down to 3.2, because that's the play I have. And now you can see that the background just gets that little bit more extra. That's what I want, that almost blown out look. That's nice. Okay, tilt your head just a little bit and look that way. Always make sure that you get some light in her eyes up towards the strobe, and center your eyes. I always ask my model to center her eyes because I love the Walking Dead show, but I don't want my models to be looking like the Walking Dead, so always make sure that her eyes are centered. I really love this look. So let's zoom in just a little bit more. That's really cool. Okay, Lieselot, can you get me some of the other slides, please? Really nice. Thank you. Now let's put in another slide and let's see what we can do. So I now have the cityscape in. Let's see what we have more. So of course we want to freak a little bit. And these are more of the creative kind. Oh, this one is awesome. We're going to put you against something very cool. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, I hope so. So we're going to switch this over. Now maybe next time we're also going to use smoke, but we're not going to do that today. Because I don't want to be known as, I already was known as Mr. Light Meter, I don't want to be known as Mr. Smoke. Okay. Are there any questions in between, Annemiek?
How would you solve on the shadows created by the second flash? I often get the reaction, I pictures that the shadows are so hard.
Okay, how do you solve shadows with second strobes? Don't use a second strobe. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but that's actually the best solution you can have. A lot of people start using second strobes. Well, they actually can do the whole light setup with one. If you use the second strobe wisely, you will actually use the second strobe for accent lighting. And if you use two strobes on each side of the face, you will get two shadows, and that looks really ugly because that's not normal. What you can better do is just position your light correctly, make your model move correctly so that she hits the lights nicely. If you want to use two strobes on the floor for the full body, angle the strobes up a little bit so the shadows won't be cast on the floor. Remember that, like with your camera, there's a certain field of view. So let's say you're using a beauty dish. The beauty dish has this field of view, meaning if you aim it like this, the floor will be hit. If you aim it like this, the floor won't be hit. Now, the model, of course, will also not be hit on her feet, but the model will be hit from, let's see, her knee up. If you're shooting a full body, just start aiming that light source down up until you aim the side where you want that accent light, and you will see that there's no shadow on the floor. Now, if you just put your lights like this, there will be a big shadow on the floor. So that means for your accent lights to actually not have your lights like this, but do this. Go down, down, down. And now you can see that they're actually aiming up. Now the sides of the light will actually just skimmer over the floor and you won't see any shadows. That's the same way we do it if we shoot full bodies. The front light is of course way up, down on the model, and the accent lights are all aimed up because we don't want any false shadows on the floor. Now if you're just shooting a 3/4, there's no excuse to having double shadows because you're using accent lights and using one light on front. So that's how you solve double shadows. You just don't create them. Okay, look towards the light. Let me see what we put in. This is more of an abstract one. I really, really love this. You know what? We have some gas masks. Can you get one? This is going to be fun. So, gas masks, by the way, if you go to flea markets, always try to get some masks or gas masks. It helps if you have a really ugly model. It helps in retouching. And in this case, it just helps with this light setup. Because I really love the background, but it gives me a certain edgy feel, a little bit of an urban feel. So I think if she would wear a gas mask somehow, and I'm going to get really close, make a close-up and get the background a little bit more out of focus, that will give me a great shot. So let's see if Annemiek and she can get one. By the way, a lot of people have asked me, how is the new Sony lens? This is the new G Master, and I have to be honest with you guys, we just got this in like a week ago. It's awesome. It's razor sharp, even in the corners, wide open. And one of the fun things is, normally when I focus, and I'm going to now focus on the camera, I'm actually doing this. So I'm focusing, making my composition and shoot. Focus, make my composition and shoot. So I'm always using the center focus point. The reason I'm using the center focus point, it's well, something I got used to. But it's also because I love to play around with my compositions. I don't want the same composition all the time. And if you use a fixed focus point, you will very quickly find that you're stuck in a certain composition. The fun thing about this camera is I can actually just aim it there, press the OK button, and it will find the face. And it will just place a focus point over the face and I can just shoot. So I just have to point it, I make my composition, I press the OK button, it finds the eyes, and I press the shutter button. OK button, shutter button, OK, shutter button. And the model can move around, I can make my composition, and with the OK, I find the eyes. Does it work all the time? Well, Sony will tell you, of course, yes. I will tell you almost all the time. When we try it out, it's like 80, 85%, it's spot on. And I think that's pretty impressive, because I never saw a system that was introduced so short while ago, and it works already on 85% of the shots. Are you ready?
I guess so.
I guess so. You're not used to this kind of stuff, right? Okay, just come where you stood before. Very nice. And just look straight at me and a little bit down. Okay, keep looking down. Let me see what happens. Nice. The thing that I want to do is I want to just close down the aperture just a little bit, make it a little bit more dark, a little bit more grungy. And we're actually gonna move this light a little bit here and just aim it something closer. Can you still see through the grid? Okay. Really nice. Awesome. So now by moving my light, I create a little bit more contrast in my shot. I love the background here. Can you lower your arms? And just take your arms out of the picture, both, and just look down. It looks like Mad Max. You're Mad Esther. Really like it. Can you do it in front of your face? Or are you claustrophobic?
Just a bit.
Just a bit, okay, I will shoot it quickly. Are you okay? You're live, so if you get killed, it's my mistake. Okay, keep it that way, look down. Look down. Awesome, keep it that way. Final shot, one more. Have to wait for the beep, sorry Esther. One more, wait for the beeps. One. Okay, you can take it off. And that final one should be the one where I was after. There we go. That's pretty interesting. Okay, I'll go to the computer. I'm gonna show you guys some stuff and then some retouching. So let's go to the computer. Let me first get the stuff out of my pockets before I destroy it. Okay. So Menno, if you can switch to my computer screen. Ah, you're already there. You're awesome, dude. You rock. Okay. Okay, so I'm back at the lousy webcam. Okay, so you saw that with small strobe you can do whatever you want. You can use your own creativity. You can use a light blaster for some really serious, funky stuff. But most of all, you saw me using a light meter on certain occasions. Now, I'm not a guy that will tell you to use the light meter all the time. For the very simple reason, you don't need to use it all the time. I sometimes tell people the best thing about mastering the light meter is knowing when, but most of all knowing when not to use it. Now in this case we had a mistake. I was on the wrong channel, so I fired the wrong strobe. But that's no problem at all. At that point I can still switch back to doing it manually. It will take me a little bit more time, but I still know how to do it. And that's also something I want to stress with you guys. Be comfortable with your gear. Now I'm doing a live show. I don't have time to figure out what it was. The moment I actually took the shot I already knew what was going wrong, and that's why Esther was actually overexposed. Normally in a photo shoot I will just take a little bit of a step back, just think about it, and then I will just do the proper adjustments. And in this case with the live show I just continued without light meter. It's not like you have to use it, it's just a very, very handy tool to do it quickly. And that's why we made a video about it, and I want to show you the trailer very quickly for that. And I show you the trailer because I have to get something to drink. So I will be back in a moment, sorry guys. Hey guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now in the first video I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now in digital photography I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. guys, my name is Frank Doorhof and this is our RV, our home on wheels. Now, as photographers, we love to take pictures on the road, right? But most of the times we just come home with snaps. Now, snaps are okay, but sometimes you want to get beyond the snaps. Now, this is where this video is all about. Going beyond the snaps. Street and travel photography with me, Frank Doorhof. Now, what you will get in this video is a lot of information on using tripods, on using the right gear, using wide angles, long lenses, how to compress a scene, how to work with people, how to get to those beautiful... Oh man, it's just way too much. You know what? You just watch these little snippets from the video and I'm sure you're gonna enjoy beyond snaps. Yeah, I really hate that last part. Hey guys, so one of the things that a lot of people ask me, like, okay, why do you do the commercials? Very simple. We do the commercials because we spend a lot of time on those instructional videos and they're jam-packed with information. Literally, they're jam-packed. And we don't do anything double, meaning if you buy one, you won't see the same topics. Well, you see the same topics a little bit, it's photography, on the other ones. So if you like Digital Classroom, some people ask me like, Frank, can we donate money? No, you can't. I'm not the guy that will put a PayPal button on my website. I just don't like that, you know. I'm a photographer, I love what I do, I earn my money with photography education, and I think that's the thing that should be earning my money. So if you guys really want to support what we do, it's very simple to do. You don't have to give any donation, just buy the presets if you want to give a small donation, because that's €7.50, or buy the instructional videos if you want to give a bigger donation. So even if you already have them, you can get them. Hey guys, so we're back, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to my desktop. And we also need the commercials, by the way, because sometimes I'm human. I have to go to the restroom and it's 2 hours. And sometimes I need something to drink. Okay, so there was also a question from one of you guys, and he asked me, like, Frank, if you know you're going to do retouching, do you shoot differently? And I have to be totally honest with you, yes, sometimes I do. When I know I'm shooting in, for example, black and white, I will actually start retouching in black and white, of course, but I also need to do some shooting differently because, for example, if you look at makeup, the makeup is already on the model, and if she has red lips in black and white, if you use wrong filtering, that can actually become black lips. So if I know I'm going to shoot black and white, I will actually give in Capture One, I will give a preset, like for example here you have some presets, and I will actually give this preset to my images that come in, and then I can judge if I'm doing right and if the makeup is right, because you know, sometimes you can say, yeah, you know, it's experience, but on the other hand, I would just like to be sure. Okay, let's take a look at this picture. This was the one I actually like, and let me also take one of the older ones. Let me see. I actually also like this one. The nose shadow is a little bit trolling me. This is where it went wrong with the strobe. Okay, the nose shadow we can fix. I'm going to show you a very quick fix for that. And I'm going to take the last one. So first I'm going to show you how to fix that nose shadow. That's not the one. One moment, guys. Oh, I already selected that one, of course. No, I didn't. Okay, let me see. Where's the one with the mask that I liked? The last one. There we go. 5 stars. Okay, first the nose shadow. Now this is what a lot of people ask me. Do you ever fix shadows? And I normally say no. But in this case I really like this shot, but I don't like the nose shadow. So we're not gonna fix it, but we're gonna make it a little bit less obvious. Let me put it that way. So we're gonna open up Photoshop, there we go. Now the first thing I do is I don't like this black area on top, so I'm gonna crop that out. Now with cropping, there's certain thoughts of cropping. Some say you need to keep the same ratios, so original ratio, and what will actually happen is I like to crop really tight, is you can do this. Now for me, I can print on any size I want, so I will normally go like, you know what, in the old days they also shot squares, so why not crop even tighter, like this. So I really love this. Now this gets way more tension in the shot. It's of course not a 4x3 or a 3x2 shot. So if I'm gonna print this, I have to print it and I have to frame it in this way. But nowadays you can frame whatever you want, so no problem. Okay, let's create a duplicate layer, or, well, you guys remember? You can also do it with an empty layer. So we're gonna use an empty layer. Gonna zoom in on the shadow, and the shadow doesn't bother me that much. It's more the transition. It's a little bit harsh, and I focused on the wrong eye, by the way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my my healing brush. I'm just gonna go very slowly over the shadow. So any hard edges that are there, I'm gonna soften just a little bit. It's very, very subtle, as you can see. It's not harsh. It's not a harsh retouching method, it's very subtle. So if you see before and after, it just makes it a little bit smoother. Okay, now if you want it even smoother, you can take your clone tool and do it all the way down, like on 5% or 10%. 10% is even better. And just sample and just very quickly massage it out. I don't know if that's the right term, but you know what I mean, right? You very slowly take the effect away. And I like it here, so I'm not going to do the effect that much there. And now I like it a lot better. This is very harsh. This is way more softer, like I'm using a bigger softbox. Okay. So what to do with this image? Now let's kick some stuff into this with Alien Skin Exposure X. So we go to Alien Skin Exposure X. And now normally I don't do a lot of retouching, but for this shot I want to go all overboard. I want to do it real old-fashioned, old school. So let's see what we can do. Also because the focus is on the wrong eye, I'm like, yeah, we're going to destroy this image. Because you know what I always say, if you destroy an image, make it black and white, add a lot of contrast and noise, and call it instant art. There you go, I love this effect. Now what I want to do is I want to get some lens flare in there. Now the nice thing about Alien Skin is that you can actually use lighting effects. So I can put this on. I don't of course want the texture in, just want lighting effects. Let me see what I like. Let's go for sun flare. I like this one, but on the other side. There we go. We can also zoom this. Lower the opacity or raise it. I actually think this is pretty cool. Add a little bit of contrast. Up the vibrance, sorry, and lower the saturation to give it a little bit more weird look. And now I can actually also do my color saturation, for example, more reds. No, I don't want more reds. I want a little bit more blues, blue saturation. There we go. A little bit more magenta. And cyans are also in the background. There we go. And now just balance it with your saturation. Lower the reds. Give a little bit more saturation. Lower the reds. As you can see, I'm balancing as I go, because I like the background a little bit more saturated and I don't like the reds that much. Okay, add a little bit of clarity to the shot. No, that doesn't do any well. Okay, there we go, and press apply. Now, again, normally I don't do that much retouching, but in this case I think it fits the image, you know, it makes it a little bit more surreal. Okay, now let's say you want a little bit more contrast in this shot. Flatten your image, make a new layer, and, sorry, yeah, I did right. Go to your background, now go into your channels. Choose the red channel, or the blue, what should I do? Do the red channel, do Command A and Command C, meaning select everything and copy. Go to the top layer and do Command V. Now you see there is a black and white conversion on top of the original one, but it's not a black and white conversion, it's actually only the red channel. So now I'm going to blend this with multiply. That's very dark. I'm going to go to soft light, that's better. And now I have a little bit more extra bite to my shot. I can actually lower the opacity just a little bit. There we go, really like this. And now because we're never totally happy, we're going to go into curves. And make sure that black is black. and blow out the background just a little bit more. And I get that really nice effect. Love it. Okay, file close. Now again, this is very, very personal. Some people now go like, Frank, this is not your best work. I know it's different, but I still like it. And I love to do different stuff. If I do the same stuff all the time, yeah, that's boring. Okay, now in this case, because I didn't use a light meter, I have to adjust my exposure just a little bit. There we go, go into Photoshop. And I still want to show you how we do skin. So in this case, I'm going to do skin just a little bit. So go into filters, image dynamic portraiture. Now a lot of people will tell you need to do dodge and burn, you need to do this. Remember, you're free to do whatever you want. I love to use filters. I'm a professional photographer, I earn my money with photography, and I won't tell you that you need to spend 6 hours or 7 hours on Photoshop. As you can see here, the filter does it pretty well. Actually, it does it very well. Just select some skin tones you want to be filtered, and there you go. So before and after. Press OK. Now you don't want it on the whole shot, so this is where you actually do still have to do some work. You go in that layer with that filter, and you do a layer mask, and in this case I do a hide all. And you see that also the background was infected, right? Because if I do undo that layer mask, you see that the background gets softer, and we don't want that. So redo add layer mask. Now I have black paper, so I'm going to use white, and I'm just going to paint the effect in on the skin. You can do this very sloppy, because this is no skin, this is no skin. Only here I have to be careful, but over here I can do it really fast. And in the end, you know, I want to spend 10 hours on Photoshop, but then I can do other stuff. So I would rather spend a little bit less time on Photoshop. Okay, let's make this image pop, and we're going to make this one also extreme. So we go into Make Fun Intensify. I'm going a little bit over time, but I hope you guys don't mind. Of course you don't mind, it's free, right? And we're Dutch. Okay, let's go to the poppy drama. Here you go, look at what it does to the background and to the mask. This is awesome, I love this. Go to apply. And of course I don't want it on the skin, so we're going to take it out of the skin, but everywhere else it can go for me. Really love the effect. Takes a little bit of time for processing. It gives me some time to take a drink. Okay, layer mask. And we do a reveal all in this case. If I want to take out little, I do a reveal all. If I want to take a lot, I want to do a hide all. Make sure it's black and take it out of the skin. Again, you can be pretty sloppy with this, because there's only black here. I actually want to do that here. And maybe also the ear I don't like. There we go. Press the X key to change back to white. And all the areas here. X for black again, because I think I missed a spot here. Okay, this looks pretty cool. So you see a before and after. Nice. Really like that effect. Of course, we also want to make this one pop, but first I want to do that crop again. So I want it tight, really, really tight. Let's go into alien skin. Now the fun thing about alien skin, it actually remembers your last settings. Now in this case I of course want something completely different, although maybe I want it a little bit more black and white, or I think this looks pretty dangerous. I think black and white is the right treatment for this. So let's see, we have a really cool black and white. I always also go through the colors, because sometimes I end up with black and white and I actually prefer color. I love this. This is really rough. So the only thing is I've blocked up shadows, so I'm going to add just a little bit more detail to the shadows. Awesome. Now because I opened up the shadows, I want to give a little bit more contrast. A little bit more clarity. Give a little bit less shadows. There we go. Now you think I'm already blocking up, but as you can see in the previous one, this one was blocked up. I hope you can see that on the net. I didn't see any detail here, and I just want barely detail there. So this is cool. Now press apply. Now you're gonna see a little trick. You saw me working with curves in Alien Skin Exposure, and you're gonna see me working with curves again now to add a little bit more of an S-curve. Now why didn't I do that in Alien Skin? If you do it in Alien Skin on a curve that's already highly modified, you get the chance that you start seeing some, how do you call it, solarization. Solarization normally seen in color, by the way, but you know what I mean, right? You see these weird transitions. Now, if I start a new curve, I don't run into that problem because I'm actually working on the original straight curve here. So this works just a little bit better. There we go. Okay, let's say we like this, but we want a little bit of a vignette over here. I don't know if I want it, but let's see it. So go to New Layer and choose here for Normal Soft Light. And then fill with Neutral Gray 50%. There we go. So now I have a layer that does absolutely nothing. That's the fun part, because now I can paint with black to make things darker, or paint with white to make things lighter. But I don't want to paint. I'm a little bit lazy today. So I go here to the elliptical marquee tool, and I'm actually going to draw around my model. I'm going to feather this, modify feather by, let's say, 600. There we go. Select inverse, and now I'm just going to take a paint bucket with black. I'm going to go full screen. And now you can see that I actually created a vignette. Very, very easy, very, very fast. I don't want it on the top. And on the bottom I can take a little bit less, but I love it here. Now if I didn't like it here, I could use first my opacity to change it, but because I like it here, I'm going to use that same trick I showed you before. I'm going to take a brush, and I'm going to go into dark gray. I don't want to take the effect out too much. So I'm going to go into dark gray. I think this is nice. There we go. Take it out here. Now if I want a little bit more detail there, I will actually change my brush to a little bit wider than 50%. So that 50% marker is very important. Below 50% I will take the effect off. Above 50% I will actually enhance light. As you can see here. Now this is way too much. So let's go down a little bit. Here we go. Very, very subtle, but it works like a charm. Okay, do a layer, flatten image, and now for the final part, I want just to enhance this stuff a little bit. I'm going to use the dodge tool. I'm going to create a duplicate layer. I'm going to use the dodge tool. A little bit on her hair, her ear. There we go. Now it looks like I didn't do much. But as you can see here, it's a huge difference. And let's save this. Layer, flatten image, and file, save. And we're done. So you can see that in a few minutes you can actually create something cool in Photoshop. Okay, so I have one more thing for you guys, and then I'm going to leave you. So I'm going to switch to my Blackmagic camera, and I'm going to stand there, and I'm going to tell you something. Okay, so I'm going to walk. Haha. And I'm going to stand in front of the book, where I'm very proud of course, Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, if you guys go to my website, frankdoorhof.com, you can get a lot of information about Mastering the Model Shoot. You can get daily updates on my blog. We're now actually doing some days where we update twice, and then the next day we don't update. We're just experimenting a little bit with that. But you can find information about our upcoming tours, you can find information about my portfolio, and of course the Mastering the Model Shoot book and instructional videos. If you want, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's very, very important for us. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, our sponsors actually see that more people are subscribing, so they will start also adding, of course, more material for our digital classroom, which we offer for free for you guys. And Anouk is doing a lot of editing on behind the scenes videos, so show your appreciation and join our YouTube channel. It's free. So Anouk, when is the next digital classroom?
June 15.
June 15, we have a new digital classroom, and we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do then, but it's gonna be Very interesting, I can promise you that. So I'm going to go back to the computer because somehow all my interns thought that at 5 o'clock they would stop. So I have to shut down the stream myself. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you so very much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And now I'm going to go back to the computer and switch the stream off, because you don't want to hear what's going on after our digital classroom live broadcast. So, and again, thank you guys very much for watching. We really appreciate it. Let me see if you go, by the way, I want to give that one more time. If you go to this site, you can actually get a great discount on MacFun. So that's pretty cool. And subscribe to our YouTube channel via this setting. Okay, guys. Oh, there's a question. My name is Frank Doorhof, and I'm signing off right after this question. What is the question, Anouk?
Can you achieve the same look as plugins like Doorhof and MacFun using only Lightroom?
Can I use the same looks? Okay, we'll switch back to my Logitech very quickly. Okay, the question is, can I achieve the same looks by only using Lightroom or MacFun? Yes, you can. MacFun has standalone software, but also plugins for Lightroom and Photoshop. So if you don't want to use Photoshop, you can actually go into Lightroom, and you can actually go from Lightroom straight to, of course, MacFun. There's also something else. Now, I'm using Capture One. I'm going to show you this very, very quickly. Let me first take that one out. There we go. Very, very quickly. In Capture One, you also have styles and adjustments. They're under here. And it's the same in Lightroom, by the way. You have the same thing. And I can also do that stuff over here. So I can create some black and white film styles. So you can use plugins. The only problem is, of course, normally you would say you can do skin in, for example, Capture One. I want to show you that very quickly. If you go here, you have the brush. And again, this also works in Lightroom. Now, if you have a brush and you are in a program that supports clarity, and this is very important, your program should support clarity. What you can do is create a new layer and call that layer, for example, skin. Now, this isn't as good as a plugin. Trust me, a plugin is way better. Go to 100%, and as you can see here, the skin, right? Now, take your brush and just paint over the skin. I'm just going to show it very quickly. So I now painted over the skin, and now what I can do is actually I can use my clarity and just lower my clarity and lower my structure. And now I actually did some skin smoothing straight in Capture One. So yes, it can be done, and it can be done very, very easily, and you don't have to spend a lot of time in Photoshop. On the other hand, in Photoshop it just works way faster because you have all the options like layer masks and all the other stuff. So in Photoshop it works pretty well. In Capture One and Lightroom it can be done. Now the plugins like MacFun, Topaz and for example Nik, they all work also under Lightroom. So you can actually go into those plugins and get the same results. Also Alien Skin, by the way. Any more questions, Anouk? Otherwise I'm gonna shut down the stream. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next time.